So in the last session we have discussed how the oxygen is transported to the tissues. Oxygen is transported in two ways. One as dissolved form. Only 3% of oxygen it dissolves in plasma, and in this dissolved state oxygen will be reached to the tissues. And 97% of oxygen is reached to the tissues in the form of oxyhemoglobin. So here what happens? Oxygen it binds with the hemoglobin molecule in a reversible way to form oxyhemoglobin. And once this oxyhemoglobin is carried through the oxygenated blood to the tissues, at the tissues what happens? As the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more and partial pressure of oxygen is less at the tissues, due to the presence of high carbon dioxide levels and low oxygen levels, the bond holding oxygen and hemoglobin it becomes unstable. So when the bond between the oxygen and hemoglobin becomes unstable, now it dissociates. Now this oxygen dissociates from that of the hemoglobin, and thus oxygen is now released into the tissues. And this oxygen is utilized by the tissues to perform its various chemical activities, metabolic activities. So here we can find the presence of C6H12O6, which is nothing but the glucose molecules or food substrates. They are present inside our body tissues. And this oxygen which has now been released from the oxygenated blood, now this oxygen is utilized by the tissues to break down this food materials or food substrate into the simpler forms like carbon dioxide, water and energy. So as the metabolic reactions takes place inside the cells, there is the release of more and more carbon dioxide, and thus at the tissues partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more as more and more carbon dioxide is released here. And once the carbon dioxide is released, that is a product of aerobic respiration, and once this carbon dioxide is released as a product inside the tissues, now this carbon dioxide diffuses outside the tissue in the gaseous form. So now this gaseous form, as a gaseous form, now this carbon dioxide will be diffused into the capillaries, and from there the carbon dioxide will be transported to the alveoli. Why to alveoli? Because again their gaseous exchange takes place, and you all know that carbon dioxide it is a toxic compound which should not be present inside our body. If it is present inside our body for a longer periods, it may be fatal. It is very dangerous, and thus this carbon dioxide it has to be eliminated, and this carbon dioxide which is released at the tissues, now it is carried to the alveoli for gaseous exchange. Okay, so this released carbon dioxide inside our body, it is transported in three different ways. How many ways? In three different ways. So one is the carbon dioxide, released carbon dioxide, it is transported in dissolved form as carbonic acid. So here just a little amount of, that is 7% of carbon dioxide or 0.3 ml of carbon dioxide, it is transported from the tissues to the alveoli in the form of carbonic acid. That is, when this carbon dioxide is released from the tissues into the plasma. So here what happens, this carbon dioxide it dissolves in the plasma, and this dissolved carbon dioxide now it reacts with water to form carbonic acid, to form H2CO3 in a reversible manner. And inside the plasma, this reaction is taking place inside the plasma. So here what happens, the carbon dioxide which is released from the tissues, now it dissolves in the plasma. So inside the plasma what happens, this carbon dioxide dissolved in plasma, it combines with water to form the, what is that, H2CO3, it is called as carbonic acid. and it is a reversible process. And here in case of plasma, this reaction it takes place at a very slow pace. Why? Because there is no catalyst enzyme present in the plasma. So to catalyze this reaction at a faster rate, this reaction requires an enzyme called as catalyst called as carbonic anhydrase. But carbonic anhydrase, it is present in a very minute quantities in plasma, and thus as the carbonic anhydrase it is present in very minute quantities in plasma, this is a slow process. It is a slow process, and thus only 7% of carbon dioxide or 0.3 ml of carbon dioxide is transported from the tissues to the alveoli in the form of carbonic acid. And the carbon dioxide is also transported as carbaminohemoglobin. And this carbaminohemoglobin can be written as HbCO2. That means this carbon dioxide, when it is released by the tissues, now what happens? This released carbon dioxide, it will combine with the amino group of hemoglobin. That means this carbon dioxide, it also combines with hemoglobin to form carbaminohemoglobin. It is called as carbamino. That means this carbon dioxide, it binds to the amino group of hemoglobin, and hence it is called as carbaminohemoglobin, and it can be written as HbCO2. It can be written as HbCO2, and this is also a reversible reaction. See, the formation of oxyhemoglobin or the formation of carbaminohemoglobin, it is always a reversible process. Why? If it is permanent, see, for example, if this carbon dioxide it binds with hemoglobin permanently, there will be no hemoglobin molecules available to carry the oxygen molecules. If in case the formation of oxyhemoglobin is permanent, then it cannot deliver the oxygen as that complex formed is permanent. So these reactions, it is always in a reversible process. So here at the tissue site, what happens? The released carbon dioxide, it binds with hemoglobin to form carbaminohemoglobin, which is a reversible, it is a temporary complex. And in this form about 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported to the alveoli. Once this temporary complex, that is carbaminohemoglobin, it reaches the alveoli, there dissociation takes place. Dissociation of carbon dioxide from hemoglobin takes place, and thus in the alveoli this carbon dioxide will be released, and from alveoli into the atmosphere the same carbon dioxide will be expelled out. So how much? Just 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported in the form of carbaminohemoglobin. And the carbon dioxide is also transported in other way, that is as bicarbonates. So HCO3 minus. Here what happens? About 70% of carbon dioxide, it is transported in the form of bicarbonates. Let us see how. So to show you that, here I will write the RBCs. Why RBCs? You will come to know now. This is nothing but RBC. And the membrane of RBC is called as Dohnan's membrane. It is called as Dohnan's membrane. This is nothing but RBC. See, I told you about 70% of carbon dioxide. It is transported from the tissues to the alveoli in the form of bicarbonates. See, due to the catabolic reactions, carbon dioxide which is released in the tissues, now it diffuses into the plasma. So here, now these are the tissues. Now this carbon dioxide has been expelled out, and this carbon dioxide from this, here, this carbon dioxide now it will diffuse inside the RBCs. So from where this carbon dioxide is produced inside the tissues, and from the tissues this carbon dioxide it diffuses out into the plasma. This is nothing but, here it has nothing but, assume this as plasma. The surrounding of this RBC is nothing but plasma. And once the carbon dioxide is released into the plasma, now this carbon dioxide diffuses into the RBC. So when this carbon dioxide diffuses inside the RBCs, this carbon dioxide, it reacts with the water which is present inside the RBC. So water content will be present inside the RBC. So now this carbon dioxide, it combines with the water to form H2CO3. And this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme, by a catalyst called as carbonic anhydrase. So which is the enzyme that is catalyzing this reaction? Carbonic anhydrase, which is present inside the RBC. See, this carbonic anhydrase, it is only present inside the RBCs, but it is absent in plasma. I told you inside the plasma also there is a formation of carbonic acid. So inside the plasma also carbon dioxide, it will react with water to form carbonic acid. But it is a slow process. Why? Because there is no carbonic anhydrase catalyst. But the same reaction takes place inside the RBC, but here it takes place at a very faster pace. So that means about thousands time it is faster when compared to the reaction occurring in the plasma. Why? Because of the presence of this carbonic anhydrase. So this carbonic anhydrase, it catalyzes the reaction. So here carbon dioxide, it combines with water to form this carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid, now it dissociates into hydrogen, that is H plus and HCO3 bicarbonates. So after the formation of carbonic acid inside the RBCs, now this carbonic acid, what happens? It remains in a very short time. So this carbonic acid, it will be present for a very shorter duration of time. And then what happens? This is an unstable compound, and this, now what happens? This dissociates into protons and bicarbonates. And this protons which have been released, which have been formed, now this protons, it will combine with hemoglobin to form hydroxyhemoglobin. Whereas these bicarbonates which has now been formed inside the RBCs, now this bicarbonates, it will now diffuse into the plasma. From where it is diffusing? From the RBCs into the plasma. HCO3, it is nothing but the bicarbonates. As these bicarbonates, they are negatively charged, as these are diffusing from RBCs into the plasma, due to this, there will be an ionic imbalance created between the RBCs and plasma. So when more and more bicarbonates are diffused into the plasma, there is an ionic imbalance. So to maintain that balance, what happens? The chloride ions, which is negatively charged, it is also negatively charged, and these chloride ions, now they will enter into the RBCs. So why these chloride ions are entering? They are entering against. So in reaction with this, in opposite to this release of bicarbonates. So when these bicarbonates are released, they are diffused from RBC into the plasma due to the ionic imbalance, and to restore the balance, ionic balance, the chloride ions which are present inside the plasma, now they are again diffusing into the, where? Inside the RBCs. And the shift of chloride ions into the RBCs from the plasma to restore ionic balance is called as chloride shift. What do we call for that? It is called as chloride shift, or it is also called as Hamburger's phenomenon. So it is also called as Hamburger's phenomenon. And then what happens to this HCO3? Inside the plasma there are various ions like sodium ions are present and potassium ions are also present inside the plasma. So once the bicarbonates diffuses into the plasma, and these bicarbonates they can now react and they can now bind with either sodium ions or potassium ions, and thus they may be forming sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate. So even in the form of sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate also, this carbon dioxide will be transported from here towards the alveoli for the purification. And about 1 deciliter of deoxygenated blood, that means 100 ml of deoxygenated blood, it can carry up to 4 ml of carbon dioxide to the alveoli. For purification. Gaseous exchange will be taking place. So this is how the carbon dioxide, it will be transported from the site of release towards the alveoli for gaseous exchange. Once again I will go through it. The carbon dioxide which is released in the tissues, now it will actually diffuse into the plasma, capillaries, and from there this carbon dioxide will be transported to the alveoli in 3 different ways, namely in dissolved form as carbonic acid. So in this form only minute levels, that is 7% of carbon dioxide is carried as carbonic acid, and about 70% of carbon dioxide is transported as carbaminohemoglobin. Whereas, and this is also a reversible process, and then 70% majority of the carbon dioxide is carried, it is actually transported in the form of bicarbonates. So as bicarbonates, either it might be potassium bicarbonate or sodium bicarbonate. Like this carbon dioxide will be reaching the alveoli in the form of bicarbonates for further purification to take place. So far we have discussed about the transportation of oxygen as well as transportation of carbon dioxide. Now I will tell a few points about the carbon monoxide also. So carbon monoxide also, CO, it is the symbol, right, for carbon monoxide. It is a poisonous sorry. So this carbon monoxide, it is a poisonous gas. You all know that. So here, when we are exposed to the pollution, nowadays more and more, due to the more and more pollution in the traffic, more and more release of carbon monoxide is taking place. And here once it reaches our blood, it is transported in a different way. How? Let us see that also now. See here, CO, that is nothing but carbon monoxide. This carbon monoxide, it has higher affinity towards the hemoglobin. So it readily binds to the hemoglobin once it enters into the bloodstream. So once we inhale that carbon monoxide, it reaches the bloodstream, and inside the bloodstream what happens? This carbon monoxide, it readily binds to the hemoglobin to form a permanent complex. So it will be forming the permanent complex, that is HbCO. So it will be forming the permanent complex. And here it is permanently bound to the hemoglobin. And this reaction, it is not a reversible one. Once carbon monoxide binds to the hemoglobin, that's all. That is its fate. That's all. So it is a permanent complex. It will be forming HbCO permanently. As more and more carbon monoxides goes and binds to the more and more hemoglobins, what happens to the availability of hemoglobins? The number of hemoglobin, it goes on decreasing. So when the number of hemoglobin molecules goes on decreasing, there will be a problem in carrying the oxygen as well as carbon dioxide, and thus when more and more carbon monoxide binds to the hemoglobin to form permanent complex, and thus the availability of hemoglobin it becomes less. When the availability of hemoglobin it becomes less, the formation of oxyhemoglobin it also becomes less. Ultimately, when more number of, for example, if almost 90% of hemoglobin have been forming the permanent complex, then the availability will not be there for oxygen, and thus oxygen content level inside our body goes on decreasing along with the decrease in hemoglobin, which ultimately leads to the death of the patient. And thus this carbon monoxide, it is a gaseous one and it is a dangerous one too. Now let us go through some of the MCQs. Besides RBC, blood plasma also carries oxygen in dissolved state. The percentage is option A 3%, B 97%, C 70%, D 7%. So how much it is? 3%, option A. Carbon dioxide is transported, option A, by RBC, as B as bicarbonates, C in dissolved state through plasma, D all of this. So carbon dioxide is transported by RBCs. It is transported by RBCs as a carbaminohemoglobin, as bicarbonates, and in dissolved state through the plasma. So which is the right option? Option D, all of this. Next question. Blood entering the lung is rich in. So the blood which is entering into the lungs. Which type of blood enters? It is entering, so deoxygenated blood, which is high in, rich in carbon dioxide. Let me read out the options. Option A, bicarbonates, B, bicarbonates, blood entering the lung is rich in oxygen, B, carbon dioxide, C, urea, D, more RBCs. So it is B, option B, carbon dioxide. The majority of carbon dioxide is transported as option A, carbonates, B, bicarbonates, C, carbaminohemoglobin, D, dissolved state in blood. So majority of carbon dioxide is transported as bicarbonates, that is 70%, option B. Next, oxygen is transported in blood mainly by A, blood plasma, B, leukocytes, C, thrombocytes, D, erythrocytes. So oxygen is mainly transported, that means majority in the sense it is by hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is present inside RBCs, it is also called as erythrocytes. So option D is the right one, erythrocytes. Next question, blood transport of carbon dioxide occurs in three forms. The correct percentages of carbon dioxide in these forms are, they has given as carbaminohemoglobin in RBC, as bicarbonates dissolved form in plasma. A 20 to 25%, 70%, 7%. B 7%, 20 to 25%, 70%. C 20 to 25%, 7%, 70%. D 70%, 20 to 25% and 7%. So here blood transport of this one carbon dioxide occurs in three forms. So they have asked the percentage as carbaminohemoglobin in RBCs. So as carbaminohemoglobin, how much percentage of carbon dioxide is carried? As carbaminohemoglobin it is 20 to 25%. And as bicarbonates it is 70%, and dissolved form in plasma in the sense it is 7%. So which is the right option? Option A. Each molecule of hemoglobin can carry at a maximum of dash molecules of oxygen. How many molecules it can carry? Option A 1, B 2, C 3, 4, D 4. So how many molecules it can carry? Up to 4. Option D. Under a given oxygen concentration in blood, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin will increase if A, pH of blood falls, B, pH of blood rises, C, carbon dioxide concentration in blood falls, D, free fatty acid concentration in blood falls. So under a given condition, given oxygen concentration in blood, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin it increases when if the dissociation of oxyhemoglobin it takes place under certain conditions. So dissociation of oxyhemoglobin usually takes place at the tissues. Why? At the tissues there is very less concentration of partial pressure of oxygen and more PCO2 will be present, more temperature will be present, more H plus, that is protons, more and more protons are released inside the tissues. So when more and more protons are released inside the tissues, what happens to the pH? It decreases. So lesser pH in the sense it is acidic in nature, and thus when the blood it flows near the tissues, due to the release of these protons, the blood it becomes lightly acidic in nature at the tissues, and thus at the tissues there is no formation of oxygen. So at the tissues there is no formation of oxygen takes place and no combining, and thus no combining of oxygen also takes place. So which is the right option? Option A. So here at the tissues pH of blood falls. That means it becomes slightly acidic. Why acidic? Because of the release of more protons. Option A. The blood coming out of lungs is richer than that one entering into the lungs in. So blood coming out of the lungs, inside the lungs purification will be taking place. So if it is coming outside the lungs, it must be oxygenated blood. It will be richer in option A, carbon dioxide, B, oxygen, C, both A and B, D, none of this. Option B, oxygen. When partial pressure of carbon dioxide, that is PCO2 rises, the oxygen dissociation curve of hemoglobin at 37 degrees Celsius will. So here, this is the oxygen dissociation curve. This is the partial pressure of oxygen, and here it is the saturation of hemoglobin, percentage saturation. So here, as the temperature, as the partial pressure of carbon dioxide increases, where this occurs? Inside the tissues. So when PCO2 increases, what happens to the curve? It shifts towards the right side. It shifts towards the right side. So which is the right option? Option A. Option A, shift towards right. B, shift towards left. C, become irregular. D, remains unchanged. So which is the right option? Shift towards right. And it is due to Bohr's effect, option A. Next question, dissociation curve is connected with A, myoglobin, B, carbon monoxide, C, oxygen, D, oxyhemoglobin. So dissociation curve, it is actually connected with oxyhemoglobin, option D. Next, a large proportion of oxygen is left unused in the human blood even after the uptake by the body tissue. So even after the uptake of body tissue, a large portion of oxygen is left inside the tissues. It is left inside this tissues. A large amount of oxygen is left inside the tissue. And this oxygen, option A, it is enough to keep oxyhemoglobin saturation at 96%. B, helps in releasing more oxygen to epithelial cells, epithelial tissues, acts as reserve during muscular exercise. D, raise PCO2 of blood to 75 mmHg. So what is the purpose of excessive oxygen in the tissues? So it will be acting as a reserve inside our tissues. So when we suddenly do the vigorous exercise or vigorous physical activities, more and more oxygen it should be needed. So at such time what happens? This reserve oxygen will be utilized. So which is the right option? Option C. It acts as reserve during muscular exercise. Next question. Oxygen dissociation curve is. What is the shape of that? So here it is a parabola. Option A, parabola. B, sigmoid. C, hyperbola. D, straight line. So oxygen dissociation curve, it is sigmoid. It is a S-shaped curve. Option B. Binding of oxygen with hemoglobin can be affected by PCO2, H plus concentration and temperature, D, all of this. So binding of hemoglobin, it can be affected by all these factors. So here PCO2 concentration, then hydrogen ion concentration, temperature, all these accounts here. So which is the right option? Option D. The amount of oxygen normally carried by 100 ml of pure blood is option A 10 ml, B 20 ml, C 5 ml, D 4 ml. So which is the right option? Option C 5 ml. How much oxygen is delivered to tissue by 100 ml of oxygenated blood under normal physiological conditions? Under normal physiological conditions, option A 10 ml, B 20 ml, C 5 ml, D 4 ml. So how much? It is 5 ml, option C. How much carbon dioxide is delivered to alveoli by 100 ml of deoxygenated blood under normal physiological condition? Option A 10 ml, B 20 ml, C 5 ml, D 4 ml. So how much? It is 4 ml of oxygen, option D. Next, oxygen binding to hemoglobin is option A directly proportional to carbon dioxide concentration, B directly proportional to carbon monoxide concentration, C inversely proportional to carbon dioxide concentration, D independent of carbon monoxide concentration. So it is oxygen binding to hemoglobin is inversely proportional to carbon dioxide concentration. So here it is C, option C. So oxygen binding to hemoglobin. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin only under low PCO2. So lesser the PCO2, more will be the rate of binding of oxygen to the hemoglobin. Option C. The most characteristic feature of hemoglobin is A. Its red color, B. Presence of iron, C. Its ability to combine reversibly with oxygen, D. Presence of basic protein globin. So which is the main characteristic feature? It is the ability to combine with hemoglobin reversibly. That is oxygen and hemoglobin, it will combine in a reversible reaction. So option C. Next, factors at tissue level favors the dissociation of oxygen from oxyhemoglobin. Option A, low PCO2, high H plus, low temperature. B, high PCO2, high PCO2 and low H plus, high temperature. C, low PO2, high PCO2, high H plus, high temperature. D, low PO2, high PCO2, high H plus, low temperature. So factors at tissue level favors the dissociation. So at the tissue level, what happens? At the tissue level, more PCO2 will be there, lesser PO2 will be there, higher temperature, higher protons will be present. So which is the right option? Option C. Next question. The carbon dioxide dissociates from carbaminohemoglobin when low PO2, low PCO2, B, high PO2, high PCO2, C, low PO2, high PCO2, D, high PO2, low PCO2. So carbon dioxide dissociates from carbaminohemoglobin. So dissociation of carbaminohemoglobin, it takes place at alveoli. See, the formation of carbaminohemoglobin takes place at tissues. At tissues, carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin to form carbaminohemoglobin, because at tissues, what happens? High PCO2 will be there. So this condition, it actually helps in the combining of carbon dioxide with hemoglobin. But at alveoli, PCO2 will be less. Why? Because at alveoli, PO2, the levels of oxygen will be more, carbon dioxide will be less. So under low partial pressure of carbon dioxide, what happens? This carbon dioxide, it dissociates from the hemoglobin. So it takes place at alveoli. So dissociation of carbon dioxide dissociates from carbaminohemoglobin when? So what is the right option? High PO2, low PCO2. Low PCO2, option D. Dissociation of oxyhemoglobin can be promoted by option A, low PCO2, B, high PCO2, C, low body temperature, D, high blood pH. So dissociation of oxyhemoglobin is promoted by, where I have written that here, the dissociation of hemoglobin, the dissociation of oxyhemoglobin can be promoted by high PCO2. So here at the tissues, carbon dioxide concentration will be more. So it triggers the dissociation, option B. And next question, the enzyme essential for transport of carbon dioxide as bicarbonate in blood is option A, carboxypeptidase, B, succinate dehydrogenase, C, carbonic anhydrase, D, thrombokinase, E, lactase. So which is the right option? Option C, carbonic anhydrase. So it is a catalyst which actually it triggers the reaction. So carbon dioxide, it combines with water to form this H2CO3 at a faster pace. So it is 1000 times more in case of inside the RBC, and it is less inside the plasma, because inside the plasma very much little amount of carbonic anhydrase catalyst is present, whereas inside the RBC this catalyst, it is present in more amount, and thus this catalyzes the reaction at a very faster phase.